All right, Shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, YahawahShai, Ba'ashem, YahawahKakodash. I want to say double honor to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone for teaching his word in truth and sincerity and for ruling well. Salutations to my fellow Akim across the four corners of the globe, preaching in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, YahawahShai. And this is the brother Gabar Yahawadah from GMSHAWAII, coming to you with another live lesson. Today's live lesson is entitled Proof Queen Elizabeth I was black and other figures in the Middle Ages. Okay, so today, I just want to make sure that brothers can see me, and brothers can see the page. All right, if you can see on a comment board, just so you can hear, and then you can see the pic, you see the page. Okay, so today, through the Spirit, I got a article that I want to share with brothers, and Lord willing, this won't be a long, outdrawn lesson, but this lesson is right here from this article right here. It says the real story behind Margaret Robbie's wild Queen Elizabeth makeup. Elizabeth I is famous for her face powder. Why she wore it and whether it poisoned her is complicated. Okay, so this is going to be a lesson in that, and it's going to, Lord willing, it'll be edifying to brothers. Okay, the first scripture though, before I get into that article, I want to I want to read is Isaiah 25:7. It says, "And he will destroy in the mountains," Salakia, Isaiah 25:7, "and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations." Right. And that covering cast, let's look at that word for covering cast. The Hebrew word for covering is lawat. Lawat. It says covering, envelope covering. It says covering which is spread over all nations. So the truth. So this covering cast is a lie that was spread over all nations. It was spread over the truth, that which covers their faces and makes them sad. So the nations, even the nations, their names and who they are has been created by a covering cast of the so-called white man. Some nations know who they were in the ancient world. Some nations, like the nation of Israel, the so-called Negro, Latino, and the Native Americans, they didn't know who we didn't. At one point, we didn't know who we were, but now we do. So something that covers the people, that covering cast. So it's the same word, lawat. People word there is lawat. Let me make sure it's the same word it's covering. Yep, it's the same word, but it's used in a different form, I guess, or format. That word for lawat, word for covering cast, or cast over, covering cast over is a lawat. Again, it says to wrap closely, to wrap tightly, to envelop. All right. So these nations, the Lord said he's going to destroy in this mountain, which is America. This government, this is the chief place of government for the so-called white man. He's going to destroy in this mountain the face, the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. Now, when you look up that word for veil, the Hebrew word there is makaka. It says the pouring like a molten metal cast image, cast image, right? Because the so-called white man teaches you that through something called whitewashing, which is modern day iconoclasm, through something called whitewashing. Okay, whitewashing is in its simplest form. Whitewashing refers to the tendency of media to be dominated by white characters played by white actors, navigating their way through story that will likely reason most deeply with white audiences based on their experiences and world views, right? So everything that the so-called white man shows you, from the people in the Middle Ages to ancient societies and ancient nations, including the nation of Israel, the so-called white man, he makes them look like so-called white people. Okay? He makes them look like everybody is so-called white. Okay? When in reality, okay, they were really Israelites, man. Like these characters right here, these supposed to be an East Asian. This supposed to be an East Asian individual, so-called Chinese, Japanese, and it's supposed to be a Persian. But when Esau put it in society, when he makes his movies, he makes him a so-called white man. Everybody's a so-called white man. Or he uses a so-called white individual to play these roles because he's telling the story through his lens, which is his lens is a lie. Okay? The last samurai is a so-called white man. Okay? Like Paul Mooney said, he make a movie about the last nigga on earth starring Tom Hanks, man. Why? Because this so-called white man, he likes to whitewash and make everybody think that he is the people of the Most High. Even when you look up God, just type in God, he's a so-called white man. Type in the Lord's Son, Yahawashi, who he ignorantly calls Jesus, he's a so-called white man. So this is all whitewashing, okay? And this really started in the Middle Ages when the so-called white man started covering the dark images up and painting images of white people, man. You know, the destruction, the defacement of these things. Because you can tell right here that these are black men. These woolly beards, these black woolly beards, and they cut the faces out. And where they couldn't cut the faces out, they painted over. And where they couldn't paint it out, they just altogether destroyed it. Or a lot of this stuff is in the super elites libraries, man. Okay, a lot of this is in the super elites library. All right, because this is a so-called white man. He's a liar. There's another one real quick. This is Job, showing you that the so-called white man is the wicked, the Edomite. The Bible speaks of Job 29 and 24. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. We know that the wicked are the nation of Edom, which is the so-called white man. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Right. And so these are some of the judges, some of the kings from the Middle Ages, Yahawashi himself, the Most High. Okay. He covered the faces of the judges. He's the only one that done this. If it wasn't him, then who is it? Who is it? Okay. So this article right here, see if it's anything on the comment board. Shalom to the Akim on the comment board and those that's tuning in. All right. So this article right here is going to shed light on the fact that Queen Elizabeth wasn't a so-called white woman. All right. She just wore a lot of powder on her fucking face. We're gonna get into it. So let's get into the crux of this lesson. Shalaki. Yeah, we're gonna get into the crux of this lesson. It says this is off of slate.com. It was posted December 6, 2018. The real story behind Margaret Robbie's wild Queen Elizabeth makeup. Elizabeth I is famous for her face powder. Why she wore it and whether it poisoned her is complicated. Mary Queen of Scots opens on Friday featuring Saoirse Ronan as Mary and Margaret Robbie, which Mary Queen of Scots was a black woman too, as Elizabeth I. Robbie's Elizabeth, we get the latest filmic representation of the Queen's famous chalk white face and a bright red wigs. Interviews with Robbie have understandably focused on the remarkable makeup and prosthetics the crew created for the actress, though not everyone loves the look. My college, somebody hilariously called perilously close to Ronald McDonald's cosplay. In her review, the movie doesn't really delve into the question of Queen Elizabeth's makeup directly, but her shockingly white face is deeply woven, is a deeply woven part of the historical image of this singular queen in the world and the worth unpacking greater detail. Right. So most of the time when you see Queen Elizabeth, you always get this image right here. Sloppy. Let me get out of this. Yeah, you always get this image right here, this chalky, Edomite looking person. But this ain't what she looked like. This is all iconoclasm. All right. She did wear chalk on her face, but she probably was more like this. And this is a Beyonce version of Queen Elizabeth. But hey, yo, guess what? This is the most accurate than these pictures, and we're going to show you through this article. So it says right here, we're going to read through it a little bit because we're going to get to right down here. It says, in our historical memory, Queen Elizabeth I owed her clown white face to the cerus, a form of powdered lead or lead. So like lead or lead. Archaeologists have found traces of white lead in graves of upper class women who lived as far back as the ancient Greece Lisa Eldridge reports in her History Maker, nor were the Greeks the only ones in the ancient world to hit upon the idea of using lead. Let me see what this, I might be pronouncing it wrong. Lead. Let me see that. Okay, so it's lead. Salakia, lead. Lead, it says it causes a person or animal to go with one by holding lead. Lead. Okay, lead. Lead is a chemical element with a symbol Pb atomic. It is heavy metal that denser than most common metals. Lead is soft and malleable. Okay, so it's lead. Salakia. So it says lead to whiten. It says the idea of using lead to whiten. Lead. Right. So the idea of using lead, I kept saying lead, Salakia about that, is actually lead. It says, read it again. It says, it hit upon the idea of using lead to whiten. Eldridge writes that that's cosmetic powder produced via a process of combining lead and vinegar may have been in use in ancient China and as early as the period of the Shang dynasty. In Europe during the Renaissance, remember that was the rebirth of the Roman Empire, women in both city and country used cosmetics freely, unaffected by satires and sermons and the unfortunate effects of poisonous ingredients. Richard Corson writes, Corson adds that the ladies who could afford it sometimes applied one coat of Ceres powder on top of another, either to avoid the trouble of removing the paint each day or in order to fill the wrinkles, neck, and décolletage received of coating as well. Other whitening preparations included powder borax and sulfur, but Ceres was the most effective. The type blended at Venetian Ceres, also called spirits of Saturn, was Eldridge writes the most fashionable, expensive, and toxic skin whitener. Why would somebody that was already white use skin whitener? Now, even in today's society, you have Israelite women using skin whitener or skin bleaching, even other nations like the Asian nations. But check this out, blacks using skin whitener, lightening up their skin. Okay, and you got images like this. You know, you got Jakes that used to look like this, dark brown, and then they lighten their skin up so they can be accepted in this man's society. Likewise, even you see Sierra right here, the chick from the Cosby Show, Nicki Minaj, all your famous people, these famous so-called famous people, they use what? Skin whitener. If you're already an Edomite, you don't need your skin looking whiter. You don't, white folks don't, so-called white people don't need to bleach their skin. So that's the first hint right there. Oh, but it gets deeper. Okay. So it says, and toxic skin whitener available in the 16th century. So expensive that aristocracy and royalty were the major users. So again, why would a so-called white woman, okay, why would a so-called white woman, use whitener to look even more white? She didn't. It was a so-called black woman doing this. We're going to get to it. This is not my conjecturing. This is real. It says skin whitener available in the 16th century, so expensive that aristocracy and royalty were its major users. When young Elizabeth, who ruled from 1558 to 1603, okay, was reportedly a naturally good-looking woman, Eldridge writes that a visitor to the court when Elizabeth was 24 described her as comely rather than handsome, tall, well-formed, with a good skin, although swarthy. Swarthy. What does the word swarthy mean? Swarthy. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. Swarthy. Swarthy. Oh, slacky. Swarthy. Yep. It says dark colored, especially of skin. dark colored, especially her skin, an unexplained alteration, swarthy 1570s from Swartz, or plus the Y. Okay, swart, Old English for black, dark, night. You see? Of night, black, dark, of night. Okay? So that's a cut right there. So who the hell, as I always ask, who the hell is this? She looked more like Beyonce than she did this damn deaf demon that you see right here. This iconoclast Edomite deaf demon. Look at this demon, man. Ain't no Edomite trying to try to make themselves whiter than they already are. Okay, that's a demon. This is Satan right here. These Edomites have iconoclast pictures of Jake, man. And they always been doing this shit. So let me read it again, just in case you forgot it. When young Elizabeth, who ruled in 1558 to 1603, was reportedly a naturally good-looking woman, Eldridge writes that the visitors to the court when Elizabeth was 24 described her as comely rather than handsome, tall, well-formed, with a good skin, although swarthy. She was fine eyes, and above all, beautiful hand with which she makes display. As Eldred points out, Elizabeth's mother, Anne Boleyn, was reported to have olive skin. And who has, what the fuck is olive skin? Because olives come in two colors. Okay, green and black. Okay, olive skin. So these are olives. You see olive skin. So they try to make you say olive skin looks like an Edomite. Nah, Jack, or some type of Arab looking, some Edomite or Arab. It says olive skin is a human skin color spectrum. It's often associated with pigmentation of the type 3 and type 4 and type 5 ranges, and generally refers to light or moderate brown, brownish, tannish skin, not Edomite. Not no goddamn Edomite. This is an Edomite. White man. So-called white man. This dude, this faggot Don Lemon skin is so-called olive, man. Brownish. Ain't no Edomite got no goddamn brown skin. You can see right through his skin, man, because his blood shows through his skin, man. Okay? Showing you that even in the Middle Ages, well, during the Middle Ages, during the time of Queen Elizabeth, people were becoming, images were becoming what? Iconoclast. And on top of that, you had Jake bleaching his skin. So swarthy. Okay, swarthy. Dark skin. Easy. That's a cut. It said, because it said what? It said she was what? Described her as comely rather than handsome, tall, well-formed, with a good skin, although swarthy, in the definition for swarthy, it says here, swarthy, dark skin. She looked frail, dark colored, dark skin, dark complexion, black, sodomy, olive skin. Cut. Hey, Barakatah Yahawadash, Yahawashai. Cut. Try to tell you, but nobody listens. See, we're in a time of truth. We here at Great Millstone speaking truth, man. Hey, like the brother said, KDC, Benjamin Franklin's essay about the Palatine. Let's get that real quick. Essay. Yep, I think I saved it. I think this is it right here. You skip all the way down to the end of this. Oh, this some bullshit. You're trying to get me to sign up for something. Hold on, Salaki. Benjamin, yep, right down here. It says this. It says, let's see. This is Salakia. About Benjamin Franklin's essay. Salakia, brothers, hold on. Oh, Salakia, brother. Yeah, I got it. I got it on a page right here. I'm just trying to look up this article about Benjamin Franklin's essay. Bear with me. Let's see. I know the brothers have put it up there. Ben Franklin, stupid, swarthy Germans. It says, Salaki. Just bear with me, brothers, while I find this essay real quick. Right here. Hey, the water, brother. The water. The water for that. Right here. So this is an article by Benjamin Franklin. It's entitled Benjamin Franklin on Stupid Swarthy Germans, which those are black Germans. Okay, he said, those who come hither are greatly of the most ignorant, stupid sort of their own nation, and as few as the English understand German language, and so cannot address them either from the press of the pulpit. Hold on. This wasn't it. Yeah, right here. Why should Pennsylvania, founded by English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be as numerous as the Germanized us instead of the Anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or custom or more than they can acquire our complexion? Which leads me to add the remark that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. Isn't that in the scriptures? The Lord said what? He made Esau small amongst the heathen, all right, in number. All Africa is black or tawny. Asia chiefly tawny, which is tawny is like a light brown. America exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russian, Swedes are generally what we call a swarthy complexion, are all, as are the Germans also of the Saxon only excepted, who with English make a particularly body of white people. On the face of the earth, I could wish their numbers were increased. And while we are, as I may call it, scouring our planet by clearing America of woods, so making this side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of the inhabitants of Mars or Venus. Why should we, in sight of the superior beings, darken its people with increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have a fair and opportunity by excluding all blacks and tawnies of increasing the lovely white and red? But perhaps I'm partial to the complexion of my country, for such kind of partiality is natural of mankind. Right, because see, the so-called white man will tell you that we as so-called black, Hispanics, Native Americans, that we are a minority. They can push that vibration here in America. But them Edomites, they're not a majority here. We are. The so-called black, Hispanics, and Native Americans are. Why do you think, since we've been here in this country, they've been saying that blacks only make up between 12 and 13% of the population? That number never changed. Meanwhile, the population continues to boom. And that's why you think in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, they had they had a big immigration boom in America. They were getting all those Edomites from them Eastern European countries and bringing them over here, okay? Because Jakes was ruling in the Middle Ages, which I'm going to prove through this lesson. I'm going to prove through this lesson that it was so-called blacks that was ruling in the Middle Ages all throughout Europe, man. Just like Queen Elizabeth was a black woman, so was King James, a so-called black man. Okay? But nobody cares about that. You people think that our history started with us coming over here on fucking slave ships, man, and living in funky-ass Africa, man. And when Jake was in Africa, we made Africa great. Not them Hamites. Timbuktu, Mali, the Songhai Empire. What's that dude named? Mansa Musa, Carthage. Okay? We made Africa great, not them damn Hamites. Africa wasn't great. The only time Africa was great is during the time of Pharaoh, and guess what? We still made it great through our labor, even through Joseph, our forefather, man. Made Egypt great through the spirit and power of Yahawadash, the power of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It was us, man. It was us that made it great. But Esau, through his fucking lies, this is Revelation 20:8, 20:7, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, right? Because that 1,000-year period was a 1,000-year period of the Middle Ages. All you gotta do is type in how long the Middle Ages last. How long did the Middle Ages last? It was a 1,000-year period. It was a 1,000-year, 1,000 years. So after this 1,000 years was up, it says until about 1450, the late 1300s going into the 1400s, but mainly the late 1400s. That's when the Middle Ages, we fell out of power. Over a 1,000-year period, we were ruling. And then after that 1,000-year period happened, what happened? You had the Renaissance period come up, the age of exploration for these Edomites coming out of their prison, which was in the Caucasus Mountains. All right. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. Right. And those, how did he deceive the nations? Through his iconoclasm. Okay. He started painting every goddamn body and everything to look like so-called white people, man. He took control of academics. He took control of the of art and history. This is off of Google. Iconoclasm is the destruction of religious works of art as part of a large political or counter-religious movement. What movement were they were countering? They were countering the Jake's movement. Art history is rife with iconoclasm. Okay, now when you look up rife, it means what? It means to be, that word for rife is especially or something undesirably or harmful, a common occurrence, widespread. So iconoclasm is widespread in art history. And whenever you look up at art history, all the pictures they show you are coming from the Renaissance period. They never show you anything prior to the Renaissance period. And even if they do, those images are iconoclast too. Or iconoclast too. Okay? Most notably, the Byzantine Empire, and that was during the Byzantine Empire was during that 1,000-year period. The so-called Negroes were ruling, including Constantine the Great. The Byzantine Empire underwent a severe period of iconoclasm during the 7th and 8th centuries. So it was already starting back then, but they really flourished during the time of Pope Alexander VI of Rome, and his son Cesare Borgia, where you get the modern day picture of Jesus, man. Okay, you get the modern day picture of Jesus, so-called, because that's not the Lord's name. His name is Yahawashi. Okay, this is the picture that's in everybody's minds, the hearts of the people. This is the picture that's in the hearts of Israelites. Okay, you think that the so-called white man is God to you, man, but he's not. He's nothing. He's a man. That's all he is. This is a fake image. This is not the image of Yahawashi, man. Okay? The one you ignorantly call Jesus, his name is Yahawashi, is a so-called black man. And according to the scriptures, he looks like a so-called black man, just like his father, Yahweh. Okay? He looks more like this than he does those Edomite pictures that you see, man. So going back to this, it says back in this article, it says when young Elizabeth who ruled from 1558 to 1603. So she lived during a time when iconoclasm was hot and heavy, man. Was reportedly a naturally good-looking woman. Eldridge writes that visitors to the court when Elizabeth was 24 described her as comely, beautiful, rather than handsome, tall, well-formed, with a good skin, although swarthy. Although swarthy, which we already know, dark skin. She has fine eyes, above all, a beautiful hand with which she makes display. As Eldred points out, Elizabeth's mother, Anne Boleyn, was reported to have olive skin, we already know, dark skin, brown skin, which accounts for a mention of swarthiness. But it is hard to tell for sure what Elizabeth looked like because as scholar Anne Ryhill argues, contemporary documents of the Queen's physical appearance, be they textual reports or artistic productions, were always partially political. So this image that you see of Queen Elizabeth floating in the air, floating on all over the place. Let me see if I can find it. See if I can find it. Yeah, this is a political look. This is a political image, man. That's a damn demon right there, man. That's a political image, man. That's not what she looked like. People perceived a queen's beauty as a sign of her divine right to rule. As Elizabeth's reign proceeded, perception of her physical beauty and her powers were ever more entangled. Elizabethan women had their reasons for wishing to present a totally white face, the appearance of youth, infertility, conformity to an ideal of beauty. That demanded women look like they never worked outside in the sun. Despite racial undertones that reads as very familiar to us today, the prioritization of whiteness in females' beauty in the 16th century. England seemed to have had more to do with classism than racism. Contemporary resources show that anti-Black racism was present in Elizabeth's culture. And that's what you get, the same thing you got now. The Negro woman bleaches her fucking skin because she hates who she is. And Queen Elizabeth is no exception. She hated her skin complexion, man. She hates who she is, you know, which really, this is an Edomite version of what Negro, well, this is what an Edomite, and this is leprous skin. They have leprous skin, the leprous hair, that all comes from the so-called white woman trying to look like her. Okay? Bleaching their skin. Going from dark browns to light, trying to lighten it up. Because you want to be accepted by the white man. All right? And that was happening back then. This is Ecclesiastes 1:9. Ecclesiastes 1:9. It says, the thing that have been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So they was doing it back then, and they're doing it now. Okay, now moving ahead past Queen Elizabeth, this is an image of the one you call Charles. His name is Charles Lennox, Duke of Richmond, and he's Charles II's son. This is the image that they present to the people all across the world. All right, they present this image, this Edomite image, that this long neck devil, which this is a ill-proportioned individual in the first place. And this, you can see this guy's image and other images of people from the Middle Ages, but they claim that this is supposed to be Charles Lennox, Duke, the first Duke of Richmond, 1672 to 1723, right? Check this out. This is from a book. I've read from this book many times, did a couple videos on it. This is from a book of Memoirs of the Secret Service of John Mackey, Esquire, during the reigns of King William, Queen Anne, and King George I. And they're going to give a description of Charles Lennox, Duke of Richmond. Charles Lennox, Duke of Richmond, is a son to King Charles II, just like I said, by the Duchess of Portsmouth. He was carried by his mother into France in the reign of King James and left France in the reign of King William when he declared himself for the religion and constitution of his country. He is a gentleman. He is a gentleman, good-natured to a fault, very well bred, have many valuable things in him, is an enemy to the business, very credulous, well-shaped, black complexion, much like King Charles, not 30 years old. So King Charles II was a black man. His son, Charles Lennox, Duke of Richmond, was a black man. And all throughout this book, every individual that they put in here, okay, is men of color. But when you look them up on the internet, they are Edomites. They make them look like Edomites. But in this book, which this is a eyewitness account of these individuals, they were black men. This dude right here, Charles Fitzroy, Duke of Grattan. Let's look him up. Charles Fitzroy, Duke of Grattan. Yep, second Duke of Grattan. Look, these are all iconoclast images. These are false images. These are not the images of the men that existed during this time. Okay, right here, Charles Fitzroy, second Duke of Grattan, 25 October 1683, May 1757, was an Irish and English politician. He was the only child and heir of Henry Fitzroy, first Duke of Grattan. Now let's go to the book. Charles Fitzroy, Duke of Grattan, is the grandson of King Charles II and son to the heir of Bennett, Earl of Arlington. Is a very pretty gentleman, have been abroad in the world, zealous for the constitution of his country, a tall black man, and at 25 years old. So who the fuck is this dude? Excuse me for my language. But who the hell is this guy? Who the hell is this guy? Huh? Parents. Henry Fitzroy, first Duke of Grattan. Let's go to him. Henry Fitzroy, first Duke of Grattan. Who was his parents? Charles II. He was the grandson. Just like we just read, this is Charles II's son. But they got him as a white man. You see? The lies that Esau tells, man. But now it's coming out. You can't hide it no more. This is Obadiah 1 and 6. Obadiah 1 and 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Right. He hid the truth. He hid who we were. He hid who he's still trying to hide it, but he can't, because now the truth is out there. And it's worldwide now. You can't hide it. It's evident. It's evident. Like the brother of KDC, don't forget, their men wore wigs too. Yeah, Jake wore wigs back in the day. Nothing new. Niggas still wearing that shit. Dudes wearing fake hair, fake wigs. Okay? So, hey, brothers, man, hey, the truth is out there. Queen Elizabeth was not no white woman. That demon that's sitting on the throne right now has no relation to Queen Elizabeth, man. None. Okay? She's a demon. Okay? This is, Queen Elizabeth was not a white woman, man. Okay? She wasn't no white, bald-headed, red. She might have been a black, bald-headed woman, but she wasn't no white, bald-headed woman, man. You Edomites don't have a problem growing your hair, man. You got to cut your hair in order to be bald or get cancer. Queen Elizabeth was a black woman. Okay? Point blank simple. All right? When we just using it to edify the body. All right? The Israelites, man, are so-called black people, the Jacobians. All you got to do is look up King James, man. He was a Jacobite. Okay? He was a so-called black man. He wasn't a white man. Okay? Okay? So I just wanted to bring that out. I hope brothers were edified. To the next time, all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Yahawadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone for teaching the word and truth and sincerity and for ruling well. And salutations to our fellow Akim. Keep pushing, keep striving. We almost out of here. Shalom.